Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to watch KBC Channel 1, where the greatest debates across the country are on the Great Debaters Contest. I am your host, Chris Boru.
And I am Esperancia Kapanga. Today we have quite the controversial motion. Use of contraceptives is the only way to reduce teenage pregnancies.
Proposing this motion, making their debut on the Great Debaters Contest, we have Pioneer High School.
And opposing this motion, we have Daraja Academy. Proposer number 1, you have 3 minutes.
From the Pioneer School comes a strong proposer of the motion that states use of contraceptives is the only way in reducing teenage pregnancies. First of all, reducing is not eradicating. It's just a simple way of lessening the effect. Let me break down the motion for you guys. Contraceptive. A contraceptive is a drug, a device, practice used to prevent a woman from becoming pregnant. There are 3, and I repeat, 3 types of contraceptives. 1, oral contraceptive. 2, a contraceptive pill. And 3, contraceptive advice or precautions. On to my first point, teenagers experimenting nature. Let's face it, people, teenagers, during these years, you are at your highest rebellious. You tend to do the opposite of what you're told. Some of you are just waiting for this session to end so that you can interact with the ladies and perhaps know why this happens. During these teenage years, the sex urge is at its peak. You tend to get these sexual starvations. And what do? You turn to sex. If we embrace use of contraceptives, my dear friends, let me tell you, we are going to reduce the number of teenage pregnancies. On to my second point, parental neglect. Let me ask you a question, guys. How many of you have had a talk with your parents about contraceptives? Or when going out, the parents have told you, hey, Kim, have you carried a condom? Few, if any, I presume, because your parents cannot even think that you can engage in sex. It's just unthinkable. Some don't even have the appropriate avenues to engage their children in this very important talk. A survey carried out by the Cambridge University on relation of teenagers with their parents revealed that less, I repeat, less than 28%, a meager number if I say, of parents have engaged their children in this important talk. If we are able to advise our parents just to spend a little time to talk to us young teenagers about the importance of using a contraceptive, then I think we'll not just have made a leap, we'll have moved a step forward in achieving less teenage pregnancies. And that's why I and Jaggy Dennis from the Pioneer School strongly propose the motion that states use of contraceptives is the only way in reducing teenage pregnancy. Have a nice day.
First proposer, you have 3 minutes for your examination in chief.
Change is the only constant thing in this earth, and change makers are rare to find. They are like this golden pin inside a stack of hay, and that's why I, Anyango Brenda from Daraja Academy, decides to join the change makers and to show you the change that we need to make in the universe. Use of contraceptives is the only way to reduce teenage pregnancy. You may ask, what are contraceptives? Contraceptives these are methods used to prevent pregnancy by interfering with the normal process of ovulation, fertilization, and implantation. To reduce is to lessen or to limit something that is not wanted. Pregnancy is the state of having a young one developing in the womb of a female. Teenager is a person who is between the age of 13 to 19. If the plan does not work, then change the plan. It doesn't mean you have to change the goal. It only means you have to change the plan. You are telling me that contraceptives is the only way to reduce teenage pregnancy when we know that contraceptives is another driver of death. Is contraceptives used to reduce human beings or to reduce pregnancy? According to www.lifesitenews.com, 27th of April, year 2016, we have this amazing young talented 17-year-old girl by the name Maria Santa in Romania. The girl died after using an oral pill which is confirmed by her doctor shortly after her death. Tell me, how is contraceptive being the only way to reduce the pregnancy when it is instead reducing the teenagers whom we need for the future? This death is simply interfering with SDG number 15, which states life on land. Moving on to my second point. Evidence, according to 2003 analysis by the International Agency for Researchers on Cancer, find out that increased cervical cancer is due to the long use of oral contraceptives. They also suggest that this cervical cancer can reduce if the reduction of oral contraceptives is put in place. Tell me, this was analysis according to the year 2003. Today, we are in 2018. 15 years down the line, contraceptives are still being used, and they are being used more and more days. This means from 2003 and now 2018, how many cervical cancers have developed as a result of the use of contraceptives? Then you come and say that contraceptives is the only way to reduce teenage pregnancy. Please be serious.
Second opposer, you have 3 minutes for cross-examination.
I want to thank the first proposer for clarifying the meaning of contraceptives, but it seems that she has not understood the meaning which she has uttered here. First thing, contraceptive is the practice, a device or a drug used to prevent pregnancies. So when you're saying that contraceptive is the only, why contraceptive is the only way? It is because it contains, it's like an umbrella to all those drugs, devices, and practices. Secondly, I want to correct her by saying that cervical cancer is not only caused by contraceptives. Radiology is one of them, so please be narrow-minded to this debate. I also want to state a fact. I'm not calling them liars, but as you can see, maybe they are. And I'm not calling them obnoxious, but you can be the judge of that. My name is Nicholas Mwangi from Pioneer School, a product of the motto, Vitae Abundante, here to propose the notion that states contraceptives is the only way of preventing teenage pregnancies. Why is it the only way? Cultural practice, there are no cultural practices that try to regulate the socio-cultural interactions among teenagers. As stated by the author of the literature book, Blossoms of the Savannah, H.R. Ole Kulet, there was a time in the Maasai culture, a kind of love called Patureishi love, where all teenagers can actively participate. This kind of love restricted sex. Today in the 21st century, there is no kind of Patureishi love. Teenagers are here and there having sex in even the most unthinkable places. What is the only solution to reduce the pregnancies that are being caused by this teenage sex? Use of contraceptives. My second point, there are no good role models there are no good role models who the teenagers can emulate. A research done by the Cambridge University in mid-2017 showed that 85% of the teenagers look up to international influencers, like let's say the truth, the ever half-naked Nicki Minaj, the so-called bootylicious Cardi B. Okay? So why are we saying that? Why are you saying that there are no good role models? Because they try and perpetuate that sex is casual. Sex can be accepted by anyone of any age. The damage has been done, okay? It's like there's the high rate of accidents, the high rate of road accidents. What was the solution? Use of speed governors. So contraceptives is a speed governor to reduce teenage pregnancies. In conclusion, I want to say that today sex is like food to the stomach. Okay, it's like food to the stomach. So how can you reduce the greed of people eating this food? By putting spice or pepper. Thank you.
Second opposer, you have 3 minutes for re-examination.
Charcoal will always remain black, even if we try to paint it in white. And that's why I, Grace Ngatia, from Daraja Academy, have decided to come here and deliver you from the lies being served to you by a white plate. I'm so happy that we share an opinion that teenage pregnancy needs to be reduced. But why is it that you bright fellows here are closing your eyes and not opening your mind to see that there are other methods that we can use to reduce pregnancy rather than contraceptives? One of you said that it is unthinkable for your parent to think that you are having sex. And that's true. It is unthinkable because it's not right. You should not be having sex because you are still students. Statistics from Capital News Kenya show that 23% of teenagers are getting married early, and this is increasing the rate of teenage pregnancy. Then, why do you come here and say that we should be giving contraceptive to teenagers, yet they are getting married early, and we know that one of the goals of getting married is procreation. We should be seeking to end early marriages, not emphasizing on use of contraceptives. Another method to reduce pregnancy is by sex education. In my school, we get sex education before we go home, and that has greatly reduced the number of people or teenagers getting pregnant in our schools. So we should not be telling teenagers to use contraceptive. No, we should be telling them, do not have sex. How many of you have heard of abstinence? I'm sure most of you have heard of abstinence, a method which is 100% sure will make you not get pregnant. But why is it that we choose not to abstain? My principal always tells me that I will not die from abstaining. And I know I won't die from abstaining because no one has ever died. I would like you to remember that we are talking about teenagers. We are talking about people in school between the age of 13 and 19. And we are talking about SDG number 4, quality education. And one of the reasons you say that we should be using contraceptives, but I will ask you, do we have a contraceptive for the brain? No, we have no contraceptive for the brain. You will use the contraceptive during and after sex, but when you go back to class, you'll be thinking of what you did, and that will make you not concentrate. So if you want to achieve SDG number 4, we have to ensure that we are abstaining, not using contraceptive. I feel so bad that my fellows are trying to normalize sex. We should not be normalizing sex. We should be saying that let us wait for the right time when we are married so that we can have sex. Thank you.
The proposers have been asked, after stating that there is wide availability of contraceptives, are they advising the youth to constantly engage in sexual activities? And the opposers have been asked, what about cases like rape, which somebody does not have control over? Proposer number 3, you have 3 minutes to answer the question.
There's something funny about the truth. Even when it's hidden, it finds a way to come out. So I'll first commit myself to try and make my sister at the back seek the truth by answering a question. And your question was, are you constantly advising teenagers to have sex by supporting this motion? No. Apart from contraceptives, you have a mind. Kindly use your mind. There's one thing about using a contraceptive and abstaining. You can abstain. A contraceptive is just a thing, a product, a device, a precaution to reduce teenage pregnancies, not to eradicate. Kindly, there's another option. Use your mind. So, Dear opposers, what you're just doing, you're just beating around the bush. You're even almost clearing the bush. But all you're doing is nothing but supporting us. Because all what you're saying, abstinence, all that, it is still a contraceptive. A contraceptive is like an umbrella where our opposers are dancing beneath. Because a contraceptive is a precaution, an advice, appeal. So when you're abstaining, when you're advising the teen, you're still using a form of a contraceptive. So they're supporting us. So on to my first point, modernization. And in these times of modernization and the whirlwind of peer pressure, we are left with no option but to seek medical refuge. And this is contraceptives. Because social forces have seemed to fail. Advising the teen to abstain from sex has failed. This is a social force I'm talking about. So we have left with no option but to seek medical refuge, which is the contraceptives. And kindly understand the motion. We're not saying eradicating teenage pregnancies. We're saying reducing the teenage pregnancies. And according to the dailynewstoday.com, thanks to contraceptives, since statistics show us that teenage pregnancies, the risk of having teenage pregnancies has reduced by 85%. And I repeat, 85%. If you don't understand, that is 15% from 100%. 85% risk has been reduced from 2007 to 2017. And this is thanks to contraceptives. And yet, the opposers can stand here bravely to say that it is not the only way. Kindly join us. So, as I wrap up my argument, I repeat, don't think like an ant, which thinks that the anthill is the only world, that the anthill is the center of the whole universe. Think broad. All what you're saying is a contraceptive. So there are so many other things, abstinence, precautions, all these are contraceptives. Kindly join us on the other side. Thank you.
Third opposer, you have 3 minutes to respond.
Well, before I start with my points, I want to answer the question that was posed to us. We're not saying that you are praying for anyone in this room to be raped. But if you are raped, you have the right to go to a hospital and get immediate medical attention. And within 72 hours, if you are taken care of, then you're not going to be pregnant and you're not going to have sexually transmitted infections. The choice is yours. Be raped and keep quiet about it, or be raped and go to hospital. You see, I was almost having a very severe headache because our opponents are truly lying to us. How dare you tell us that contraceptives are the only way to reduce teenage pregnancies? Only way? Let me tell you something personal about my life. I have never engaged in sex, maybe, and it's true. And I do not use contraceptives. And I've never used contraceptives, and I'm not pregnant, nor am I planning to be pregnant. So why tell me that using contraceptives is the only way? Please underline that word, only way. It's not the only way. I stand strong to say abstinence is among the many ways. To so many, the Disney cartoons that we've watched when we were young, I learned that Cinderella did not get her Prince Charming by taking her dress off. She didn't. So even to us, especially ladies in the house, we do not have to take our dresses off for any male. We can abstain. According to a blog known as Body Ecology, a parent-to-child talk is very important. Why did you give birth to this child? You gave birth to this child because as a parent, you have the right to talk to this child. And as a teenager, you have the right to say what you want. You know, sometimes I feel bad when our opponents are trying to lie to us in our face that you cannot talk to your parent. Excuse me. If you cannot talk to your parent, I always talk to my mother. She is my parent, and she tells me, abstain. This is a parent-to-child talk, which helps me a lot. Let me tell you something else. You've told me that I am beating around the bush to a point I'm almost clearing it. Let me tell you, I better bring down a forest so that I oppose this motion. I better bring down a forest. And I, Stella Washira, I am a teenager like most of us, and I have opposed this motion. Join me to oppose the motion.
Proposition, you have 1 minute to wrap up your case.
You're asking why it is the only way to reduce teenage pregnancies. And this is the reason why, dear opposers. Because contraceptives, the word contraceptives, houses your whole argument. I don't want to say you didn't do your research, but you prove so. So, a wise man once said, the essence of a debate or an argument is to find a solution or to progress, but not to find a winner. And therefore, let us not engage in an argument of two dwarfs who are arguing between who is the tallest. And while the sun sets, they're both dwarfs. So let us not engage in such an argument. Yes, and what opposers have been saying in the past 18 minutes in this podium is nothing but supporting us. The whole argument is based on contraceptives. A contraceptive is a pill, a precaution or advice, including abstinence, including your parent talking to you. It's still a contraceptive. So, contraceptives houses your whole motion. My case rested even before I stood in this podium. So I have no other option but to follow it.
Opposition, you have 1 minute to wrap up your case.
Well. It seems we all did our research, but there is a group that did the wrong research. Let me tell you something. We're not saying that contraceptives should not be used. We are saying they're not the only way. Please understand, they're not the only way to reduce teenage pregnancies. And it depends what you understood by the meaning contraceptives. And let me tell you something. When you look at a flower, and this flower is blossoming, you'll want to look at it forever. But then, when acid rain falls on it and it starts scorching, what do? You don't want to look at it. And that is what you're trying to do to teenagers. When a girl has been overusing contraceptives from when she's a teenager, you don't know what time she will stop using. And maybe when she will need a child, that time when she'll need a child and she used a kind like the morning pill for a long time, and she can no longer have a child. That husband will not want her anymore. And maybe he's the same husband who was her boyfriend when they were using contraceptives. I'm going to be that flower that is not going to be scorched by any acidic rain. Thank you.
Dennis, you started off by giving us examples like parental care and the likes, and you also defined the motion as well. However, I feel for you as a start, as the first speaker, you're a good speaker, but you want now to add on top of that persuasiveness, because there's need for that, because you're building a case. Nicholas, fair cross-examination to your team. Many claims that you gave, I think I remember the role model one, and the examples that you gave. Dan, outstanding. I think you stand out for the team because you're a creative speaker. I think I would call you a creative speaker. You play around with words in a nice way. I think I remember about that bush. I don't know whether now it has been cleared so far. Good answer. I think the social forces that you gave as an example. The statistics as well. I think you're the one who brought in the statistics now about teenage pregnancies and the likes, and that was good. Daraja Academy, well done as well as a team. I think, Brenda, you brought in the angle of this has detrimental angles in terms of diseases. And I think I like the allegiance or the connection to the SDGs. Grace, outstanding. And I think I've seen you before. I think you have sharpened yourself in a very good way. Well done. All your examples had citations. And you gave examples even with the SDGs, SDG number 4, and I think the relation and the cross-examination that, listen, You guys are normalizing sex. This is a big deal. I think you brought in what I would call that parental feel in this motion. I think that was commendable. Keep up that. Stella, well done as well. I think you are good at rebuttaling even that whole Bush example and the likes, and I think you did well for your team. Let's wait for the results.
All right, so now we get down to the numbers. After such a spirited fight, Pioneer High School, the judges awarded you 69%. Let's give them a round of applause. Daraja Academy, the judges saw it fit to award you 71%. Congratulations to both schools. That was an amazing debate you've given us. One of the debaters has said, the essence of debate is to find progress and not a winner.
And Daraja Academy have built that bridge to their own progress. We'd like to thank each and every single person who's made this show a success. Remember, without you, the search for the great debaters would not be possible.
We would like to thank our sponsors, Blazed by Safaricom and Brand Kenya Board.
Ladies and gentlemen, remember the conversation still continues with the hashtag GDC for SDGs. I have been your host, Chris Buru.
And I am Esperanza Kapanga. Stay tuned.